Hi everyone, let's talk warped templates, how to use them, and then how to actually warp your own images. So I use an Apple computer. I have the business edition in Silhouette, but with the designer edition or above, you can get the warp feature. And I believe you can also get the SVG feature to be able to export as an SVG. So you that have the Cricut machine can export it as an SVG and then upload it into your Cricut. I know that one of the differences is when you upload it, it changes its size. So you'll have to note the size of the image so that when you bring it into Cricut, you can put in the size and it will be the correct size, and then you can cut it with your Cricut machine. And the designer edition is $50. And so, I recommend if you're going to, do a lot of warped images, invest in it because it's a great feature. And there's other features as well that even if you're a Cricut user, you could use the Silhouette software and then bring it into your Cricut machine, your Cricut software, and use your Cricut machine with it. So I just wanted to go over a little bit about that because that's the program I use. I like the Silhouette. I have this, I have Photoshop. I have Affinity Designer. I have Scal 5. I have, there's another one, but I can't think of what the name of it is. But I like the Silhouette because in all the other programs, when I'm going to warp, this is Photoshop, when I want to warp, I have to move nodules up and down. So I would bring my template in and then move these nodules to match my template. It's easy when it's abstract photos, but when you get words, it's kind of hard to make sure that they're not all, crazy looking when you go to print it out. So there's programs out there that can use the warp feature and have a warp feature. It's just a little bit more difficult to use, I find anyway. So I go to the Silhouette. So normally what I'll do is I will drop all my templates on my desktop and then I drag them over. Oops, wrong one. I grabbed them all. This one, the top one. Oh, let me go back. Come on, work with me here. There we go. Okay, so there's my template that I have. And what I normally do is then on an abstract, these templates are only good for abstracts images, because if you have an image that has lines or words that go beyond the center of the tumbler, that go beyond here and here, you have to warp the image itself. You can't do it any other way to get it to line up straight. And I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. So here's my template. I just grab my design and I drop it into my template. Now I'm done. I can print this and cut it out by hand and then put it on the tumbler, and that's it. There's no, guessing of where it's going to fit on the tumbler, how to get your lines, cutting it once it's on the tumbler, all of that stuff. Normally the templates will run pretty close to perfect on the tumblers. There are some, though, that were a little bit difficult, and so they actually have an overlap that you would have to cut off with the straight ruler, but that's still pretty simple to do. So that's using the template with an abstract design. Let's say I want to do the straights, okay? This is my, let me move these out of the way. This is my lined image that I want to curve. So if I was to take this, bring my template back in, drop that image into my template, it doesn't curve. This image here is one that I curved by itself. So I took this image and actually curved it. I used the warp feature, and you could tell the difference. So when I go to put this one on a template, it's not gonna line up. It's not gonna look straight. So that's why on these type of images, you have to actually use a warp feature somehow. So let me just show you how to use the warp feature. Okay, so here's my straight image. And what I normally do is I'll bring this image in, and I'll usually do it at like 12 by 12. It has to be a little bit bigger than your actual substrate that you're using. So 12 by 12 is usually pretty easy, and it usually fits every time. So on the silhouette, you come down here to your warp button, and then you'll click the cup, because that's that same one that I was telling you in this one right here is where you move the nodules. That's what that is. So I want to do the conical wrap, select that button with this highlighted. Okay, so now I'm going to take these measurements. You're going to measure your cup. This is the top. You're going to measure it across, and you're going to put that number right here, which I believe is 3. And then you're going to measure the bottom across right here, which is going to be 2.5. And then you're going to measure how tall your tumbler is, which is 8. And then I just click here because we're using a full pattern. So these will just move this pattern either all the way up. So your curve will be here, and that's where you're going to place your image, or it's going to go center. That's what these 2 buttons are for right here. But I just click off, and then I'll click down, and then this should turn 0 because there should be no space between here and here. It should all fit within the template. And I'm not going to click apply because for some reason it's been crashing on me this morning every time I did. So I'm just going to hit cancel. That's how you warp your image in Silhouette. And it's pretty simple. The problem is it won't ever come out right. You're going to have to tweak your numbers, you know, by decimals, sometimes by half inch, I mean, not a half inch, quarter inch, or an 1/8 of an inch. You'll have to move these measurements around because 9 times out of 10, it's going to warp it, but it's not going to be perfect when you go to put it around the cup. It takes a lot of time sometimes to warp, but I do find this feature a whole lot easier than the Photoshop feature where you're moving these nodules right here back and forth, trying to get your warp in there. You know, I find this a lot more difficult than I would here and getting my measurements once I get it around the cup. So that's why I recommend everyone that once they do this and they warp their image, they print it out on copy paper. And then that way you can test your image around your tumbler to know, oh, I've got to enlarge this image by 1/4 of an inch. And sometimes you can just take the image itself and adjust your measurements here, or sometimes you actually need to move your measurements right here. And this is where I was talking to you guys about that I wanted to see if there was a way that I provided you with these measurements, that all you had to do was just for a 20-ounce skinny hog, put in these measurements right here, hit apply, and you were done. But you would have to have the Silhouette warp feature. So if y'all got any ideas on how I could help you to achieve that, just drop them in the comments below, because you know, my goal is to make it easier, because I was frustrated myself, and then I was buying templates and they weren't fitting, they weren't working, which is why I started creating my own. So if you have any suggestions on how to do that, to give you guys the information to where that you can just, you know, create it once and use the template over and over again, just drop them below and let me know, and I'll see what I can do. Okay, so that's that feature. That's the wrap feature. Let me show you what I mean when I wrap them around the tumbler. And it gets wrapped around the tumbler. After you cut it, this is the first image that we did, printed it out, and then it wraps around the tumbler. And 9 times out of 10, it'll fit pretty close to like that. Sometimes this will overlap a little, and you'll have to use your own measurements and measure them down. I found that every tumbler is not measured exactly the same. So sometimes it fits perfect, and sometimes it's a little off, and then you just have to trim this down. And I just use my straight edge and run my straight edge down. And then if it's a little tall, I'll tip my cup up, put it on the table, and turn my cup as I'm cutting this off. So, but they should fit pretty much like that. And that's using the template with an abstract image. This is what I was telling you when you're using the template and trying to get these type of patterns to line up, and they just don't. They're just off. They kind of slant up. So the template don't work with this style, with the straight or the words or any of that. You actually have to warp these yourself. So if there's a way that I can teach you how to do this without the Silhouette software, which I don't think there is, let me know, because I would be happy to do that. That's it. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. Drop them in the messages below. You know, I hope I covered everything. I probably forgot some stuff, but this is my very first time ever doing a video, and this is like 110th take of this video. So I hope I covered it all. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.